Give it up for Bruce Vincent, please.
Boy, this is great. It's terrific to see all of you come out here. A little bit higher up. Now, when Michael Berry shows up, I want you all just to kind of break out in laughter. And on his show earlier this week, he had a set of questions. I think there were 30 of them, and it was how to tell if someone's a Democrat. And all I remember is if you scored 5 or less, you wanted to be sure those people got out and voted, because they're not Democrats. And I want to let him know I scored a 2. Thank all of you for being out here. Thank you for what you're doing. It's so important. You know, people didn't believe their vote counted until Florida in 2000. People didn't believe their voice counted until they saw the town hall meetings in August of last year on health care. You can make a difference. You are making a difference. Let your voices be heard. I'd like to begin today with a story about a college professor who prepared a test for his soon-to-be graduating seniors. The test questions were divided into 3 different categories, and the students were instructed to choose questions from only one of the 3 categories. The first category of questions were the hardest, and they were worth 50 points. The second category were a little bit easier and worth 40, and then the last category were the easiest questions of all, worth 30 points. Well, as soon as they were through taking their test, the professor immediately graded them without even looking at them and passed them back. And the students who had picked the hardest questions were given A's, those with the easier questions were given B's, and those with the easiest were given C's. The students, of course, were frustrated with the grading system and didn't understand. And they asked the professor what he was looking for. And the professor leaned over the podium, put his reading glasses down on the tip of his nose, a little smile on his face, and said, "I wasn't testing you today on your knowledge. I was testing you today on your goals." Like the professor in the story, none of us are here today to test our knowledge, but rather to test and express our goals. Just being here shows me that you care about our country, you care about our community, and you want to do whatever you can to help. For my part, what I hope to do today is show you why the oil and gas industry is part of the solution and help you understand why we can't let Washington make it part of the problem. And we're supposed to have fun out here, so you're going to have a part. And I'm going to tell you when we get there, and I want you to say it with me. I'm going to say it several times as we go through this talk. And I want you to participate, because this is supposed to be fun. We're doing it together. It takes all of us. Have you ever wondered what our lives would be like if we were not able to go anywhere at any time in our cars? Picture our lives without asphalt to pave the roads or repair them. How about going to the grocery store and not having a choice between paper and plastic because plastic was so expensive it wasn't available? What if the toys for our children became few and far between because they became too expensive to make? What about that wonderful little round golf ball that we hit around on weekends if it wasn't available? What would we do? These things and many others that are prevalent in our daily lives have one ingredient in common, and that's petroleum. What would our lives be like if the cost and availability of that single ingredient changed? Throughout time, petroleum products have helped make better lives for us. And as we move forward in the 21st century, petroleum will continue to fuel our future and drive our progress. It provides over 60% of our country's energy today, and it will for decades to come. It remains essential to our very American way of life. More than 150 years ago, Colonel Edwin Drake used the power of persistence, the force of steam, and the technology of a 32-foot iron pipe to develop our nation's first commercial oil well. And today, America's oil and gas producers to continue to rely on advanced technology cutting-edge science, human ingenuity, and old-fashioned hard work to produce affordable energy for the American people. And no one understands this better than all of you here today. Whether you or a family member, a friend, or a neighbor down the street, you probably know at least one person who is employed by the oil and gas industry, a thriving industry that powers the U.S. economy and provides great jobs for millions of Americans. In fact, 7% of America's GDP is contributed by the U.S. oil and gas industry. And 9.2 million jobs are supported directly or indirectly by this industry. However, despite these facts, as well as the fact that American oil and gas companies lead the way in developing new technologies and employ the safest and the most efficient methods in the world, our U.S. government has all but ignored the industry's capability in the global search for energy resources and our domestic need for job creation. It defies logic to claim the goal of reducing dependence on foreign oil while opposing the expansion of oil and gas production in our own country. It defies logic to claim that our number one goal is job creation and economic recovery while proposing misguided policies that would cripple a robust job-creating industry, costing thousands more jobs and billions in revenue. But this is exactly what has been happening in Washington today, and quite frankly, I think it's a baffling scenario. The oil and gas industry is part of the solution, and we can't let Washington make us part of the problem. Now that's your part. The oil and gas industry is part of the solution. Let's not let Washington make it part of the problem. So who are independent producers? Independent producers are America's producers. There are thousands of independents in more than 30 states across the country. These companies include small, privately owned mom-and-pop operations, as well as large, publicly traded companies who combined develop 90% of U.S. oil and gas wells. Every 9 out of 10 wells drilled in this country are drilled by independent producers. While Washington talks about big oil, it's the independent that's getting it done in this country.